This week I have a beautiful chord progression and I've got a nice backing track which I'm about to play over, and I'm going to be playing, I suppose, loosely in the soul R&B kind of style. I'm going to try and be melodic and tasteful, and I'm not going to try and copy any particular player. I'm going to try and bring a bit of my own personality to the proceedings if I possibly can. So let me do that and then I'll break down my approach for you. So there we go, that's such a beautiful chord progression to play over, and I did try to get quite a lot of ideas into that particular piece, and I was probably playing more busily than I would do were I in an actual musical situation in a band or playing over a proper song. And I just think for the purposes of this tutorial video I wanted to give you, plenty of things to play around with. Then when you are in an actual real musical situation you can bring your own taste to bear and play whatever's appropriate for the actual song. But the kind of things that I was using in that piece, there were lots of double stops, so thirds, fifths, sixths. I had lots of those classic kind of hammer-on R&B licks. There were triads, of course. I played some spread triads at one point, which is a really nice sound. And then towards the end of the piece, I had some country bending in there too. So I'm going to break all of that down for you. There's going to be a little bit of theory, and I'm going to be talking about some of the techniques I'm using as well, in particular hybrid picking, which I used quite a lot in that piece. So let's get started. I'm going to begin with the chord progression. Fairly obviously you need to understand the chord progression you're dealing with before you can play over it, before you can come up with interesting rhythm guitar parts. So it's just a simple 4-chord cycle. So you've just got a C chord for 2 bars, and then G minor for 2 bars, B flat major, and then F. So in the key of C here, C is obviously the 1 chord, F is the 4 chord. We've got a couple of perhaps slightly unusual chords here. We've got this G minor to start with, and then this B flat as well. So the note B flat, that's not in the C major scale, but you might know that if you play a B flat instead of a B in a C major scale, you end up with the C Mixolydian mode. So, and in fact both of those chords, the G minor and the B flat major, can be seen as coming from the C Mixolydian mode. So that's one way of thinking about this chord progression, and it's important to bear that in mind when you're playing over this chord progression and coming up with little fills. You just have to be aware that the B note is probably not going to sound that great, and it's going to be better to just play that B flat note, particularly over this chord and over this chord. Now, the first time through the chord progression, I just kept things very, very simple. I was just arpeggiating that basic chord progression. So, and I should say that the time feel, the time signature for this piece is in 6/8, so it's got that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of a feel. And you hear that kind of feel in a lot of these classic sort of soul ballads, by Al Green or Otis Redding or something. And the classic thing for the guitar player to do is just to very simply arpeggiate the chords in that rhythm. And that was really all I was doing. C to G minor, B flat, and then F. Actually doing something quite interesting on the F chord. So on the backing track, it's actually an F with an A in the bass. So F over A is another way of saying that, or F/A. So it indicates a chord with a different bass note or an inversion. So here, in fact, an F chord, the note A does belong to the F chord. It's the third. So it's actually playing an F chord with the third in the bass. And as a guitar player, you've got a choice when you come across these inversions or slash chords. One thing you can do is just ignore the bass note and just play the basic chord type and just let the bass player or the keys player take care of that bass note. Or you might decide to play that note on the guitar, and that can sound quite interesting as well. So that was what I was doing here. I was playing this voicing here. You could think about this as you've got your F chord in this C grip, and then if you bar all the way across with your first finger, you can just catch that A note. So it's that F over A. So a nice way of playing that inversion, that F with the third in the bass. So very, very simple. I think I was sometimes just throwing in some little single note connecting lines between the chords as well. So that's another option. So this kind of thing. To connect the C to the G minor, I was just going, and you can think of these notes as coming from the key, or perhaps as a major pentatonic scale. So thinking out of chord shapes once again, as I like to do, you've got a C major chord, and you've got a C major pentatonic scale, a bit like these diagonal pentatonics that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago in a video. So here, use those notes to connect the chords, and I think I did the same thing here. So connecting into the B flat major chord, it's the same idea. Major pentatonic notes. Then the next time through the chord progression, I started to get a little bit busier, things started to get a bit more interesting, and I was doing some double stop stuff. So I think I started like this. So exactly the same chord progression. So starting on the C, I was into this double stop idea, so I'm using some sixths here. These double stops here, known as sixths because the notes are a sixth apart. So I've got an E here and a C, for example. If you count up through the musical alphabet, E, F, G, A, B, C, those notes are sixths apart, and they've got a characteristic kind of sweet melodic sound. So I've got this shape here, and then this shape here, so the third fret on the D and the B strings, and then that same shape moved up 2 frets. And those shapes fit the sound of the C chord. I tend to think out of chord shapes a lot, so I've got my C open chord grip down here. These two notes are found within the chord shape, and that's my jumping off point for this little melodic fill or line. Just something I've got right under my fingers whenever I'm playing over a C chord. And this is where hybrid picking also comes in really useful. So very often with these sixths, I'm going to use hybrid picking because it's the nature of these sixths that you've got a string skip involved. So I've got a note played on the 4th string, I'm skipping the 3rd string, I've got a note on the 2nd string. You could play both those notes with the pick and just kind of mute the in-between string, but often I prefer to use hybrid picking. I think in this kind of situation it's a little bit easier, gives you a slightly sweeter sound, I think. So I'm using my pick to play the notes on the 4th string and using the middle finger of my picking hand to play the notes on the 2nd string. That's taking us to the G minor chord. I'm just thinking about a G minor triad here. Just embellishing that triad there. I'm just adding in that E note with my little finger. Then going to the B flat, again thinking about the triad shape. So some thirds here, which are closely related to 6. You've got the similar kind of melodic sounds, so just coming out of that triad shape. I've got 2 different shapes there. You just have to make sure that the notes you play fit the chord and fit the key. And then we're going to the F. And there I played a classic sort of double stop soul kind of feeling, a Hendrix type idea if you like. So thinking about, you can relate this to a chord shape as well. So you might be thinking about your caged G form shape. There's an F chord in the G form, and just coming right out of that, all of those lovely Hendrix style ideas, the major pentatonic scale, and just kind of slamming down your 3rd finger to get those kind of R&B fills. Then I continued with this kind of idea. So more double stops really, but it's kind of a combination of triads and double stops. So I've got this idea which fits the C chord, so you can think about your E form C grip. I'm just playing 2 notes here. This is an interval of a 5th. I've got the root and then the 5th. You've got the triad shape, but I'm not playing the middle note in that triad shape. I'm using hybrid picking once again. And then with my little finger adding in that major 6th, and then the same shape I'm taking down to the 3rd position, to the 3rd fret, and the same shape works. It's still giving you that C sound, but the intervals are different. So here, hammering from the 5th to the 6th, down here, hammering from the 2nd into the 3rd. So it's a really useful little shape, that one. I'm taking a similar idea but making it work over the G minor chord. So you can think about your chord shape, and I'm just playing the D string and the B string, that kind of 5th. This time hammering into the B flat, that minor 3rd. So then we're going to the B flat major. Then I just played a little single note fill, so just notes from the key. So I like these dissonant kind of minor 2nd intervals. Another slightly dissonant thing going on there. So I've got the F and I've got the open top string. So sometimes something I personally like to do. It can all get very, very sweet, this kind of style of playing, so occasionally it's good to just counterbalance that with a little bit of dissonance. Then I went into this open voiced or spread triad idea. So this is another device that I like to use quite a lot. So I'm always banging on about triads. I think I have mentioned spread triads or open voiced triads in passing, but not for a while. I'm probably overdue doing another video on these, but the basic idea is with a standard triad shape, a C triad shape, for example, C, E, G, all of the notes are in the same octave, but you can move some of those notes around. Often it's the middle note that you take down an octave, and it literally spreads out the notes in the triad, gives you a more open kind of a sound. So if, with this shape here, for example, you take that E down an octave, you got this kind of sound here, and you can kind of refinger it and play it like this. This is the shape that I was using, so it's E, C, and G, and it's another inversion really. It's a C triad, but you've got the E, which is the third, as the lowest note, and then we're skipping the fifth string, we've got the root, and then we've got the fifth. So spread triads often have this characteristic layout on the guitar. You've got the lowest note, and then you mute or skip the next string, and then you've got another pair of notes. So this is a C major spread triad with the E as the bass note as the lowest note. And it's not really the time now for a complete spread triad lesson, but you can kind of, it's worth learning those shapes. So three shapes on this particular string set, so it's C, G, E, E, C, G, G, E, and C. You can play around with those shapes, but for this piece I was starting with this shape here, and then going to G minor, remember, and this is a G minor spread triad with the fifth in the bass. We've got a D note, B flat, and a G. B flat, this is the same as the first shape, just 2 frets lower, so a D, B flat, and an F. And then I'm going to the F chord here. This is an F spread triad, but with a C as the lowest note, then an A, and then an F. And it's a beautiful sound. I'm just trying to connect smoothly to the nearest shape there, so rather than jumping around the neck, I'm just going to the closest shape, the nearest inversion. It gives you a really cool kind of smooth sound. So let me see, what did I do next? I think I went into this idea. So some more double stop ideas, so coming straight out of this C chord shape, this is another kind of Hendrix-y idea here, so hammering into the third and the fifth from this is the ninth or the second. So that's giving us that C major sound then. So coming out of this A form G minor chord, just playing on the top 2 strings. See the second going to the minor third. Just a simple arpeggiated triad shape there, so the B flat major triad, just coming down that shape from the F, F, D, B flat. Just strumming the top part of an F chord here, and I think I just took the top note down to give you an F major 7th sound. And then for the last time through the chord progression, I went into some of this country bending stuff. So that bend there is working over the C chord. I've spoken about these types of bends before, so I'm often bending into chord tones. So here I'm bending a D up to an E, so it's the second up to the third of the chord. So I'm holding down the D and this G note and bending the note on the third string. With this style of country bending, you want to pay fairly close attention to the tuning there, just make sure you get that nice sweet country sound. When I'm doing this particular bend, it kind of feels more controlled to me to bend with my first and second fingers, and then I'm holding this top note with my with my little finger. There are various ways you could do this, but that feels good to me. So that's working over the C chord, then over the G minor, doing this kind of a bend here. So I had the G on top, and I was bending an A up to a B flat, so a semitone bend. So bending into chord tones once again, and then over the B flat, same idea that I played over the C, it's just taken 2 frets lower. And then just some sixths from the F major chord to finish. And just ending on a C chord. So lots of ideas flying around there. I hope you find some of those interesting. You're very welcome to steal the ones you like and use them in your own playing and in your own music. But as I said at the start, I probably overplayed a little bit in this particular demonstration piece. So it's really important to pay attention to context, particularly if you're playing a song and there's a singer, there's vocal melody going on. You don't want to step on what's going on there. It's far better just to play very minimally, just to play those simple arpeggios. And then you listen out for little gaps in the music when the singer's not doing something, when there's room in the instrumentation, and that's going to be your opportunity to play some of these more melodic fills or flashier ideas. But you certainly don't want to overdo any of this stuff. Let me give you a quick rundown of the gear that I'm using today. Guitar is my Trent Model 1. I'm still really enjoying playing this guitar. I love these P90s. I think these are the Trent sort of in-house P90s. Elliot Trent winds those pickups himself. Love the sound of those. The amp I'm using today, I'm actually using my Kemper Profiler. So when I was putting this video together and writing the piece, I was just plugged into the Kemper and had that going straight into my computer. And I just kind of happened upon a sound which I liked. I was kind of half intending then to re-record it using my Fender Princeton, but sometimes it's not worth bothering if you're happy with the sound that's coming from the Kemper. I think it kind of works for this piece. And the particular profile I've got, what's it called? It's called 57 Deluxe 1. So I'm guessing that's a 57 Fender Deluxe, but liking the sound of that. It's working well for this piece. And I've actually just got one pedal down here, and that's just a bit of tremolo. I'm using the Surfy Trem pedal, using that in brown face mode. So I think that's one of these sort of harmonic tremolo sounds. It just sort of sounds subtly different from the kind of tremolo that I've got in my Princeton and my Fender Deluxe, kind of the blackface amps. So that's my setup for today. So that's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you're going to find some of those ideas useful in your own playing. Of course, if you would like tab, that's going to be up on the Patreon page. I'm going to transcribe the piece that I played at the start of this video as beautifully and as accurately as I can. The backing track is also going to be up there, so you can grab that and play along should you wish. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.